Today's review is Jaws 2. I reviewed the original film, the Steven Spielberg film, earlier this year, actually. Not for 31 Days of Horror, but actually 31 Days of Oscar, a review series of Oscar-winning nominated films. So I thought, hey, why not review the sequel? Why not? So Jaws, of course, Steven Spielberg's classic. How can you make a sequel to that? How can you top that? You can't, but Jaws 2. I think they try. I really do. So this movie definitely isn't for lack of trying, though it is a little misguided. I think it's a decent movie. I like it. I've always had kind of a soft spot for it. I think with my Jaws review, I mentioned my little story about seeing it when I was a kid and being scared. I was like 5 years old, so maybe like a year or two later. A cable network, the Movie Network, which is sort of, I guess, kind of like a Canadian equivalent of HBO, sort of. They were having a Jaws-a-thon. They were showing all the Jaws movies. So I was like, okay, hook up the VCR. I'm going to record all the Jaws movies on one tape. Well, actually, they didn't show Jaws 4. They only showed 1, 2, and 3. So I had Jaws 1, 2, and 3 all on the same VHS, which is exciting because it's not like today where they fucking AMC will show Jaws followed by Jaws 2 followed by Jaws again followed by Jaws 2 again. So it was a big deal for me, so I had them all on one tape, and I would watch Jaws 2 quite a bit, but now of course I have the DVD here, which is nice to have. So yeah, what's basically the plot of this movie? They follow the Amity town once more, the Sheriff Brody character once more. So we have Roy Scheider returning, Lorraine Gray as his wife returning, even the actor who played the mayor is back. Absent, needless to say, is Robert Shaw, having been killed in the first movie, and Richard Dreyfuss, whose character is mentioned but never seen or heard from in this movie. So really what it is kind of about, Chief Brody, played by Roy Scheider, he is starting to get the sense that once more there is a shark terrorizing Amity. There are mysterious deaths happening at sea. Could they just be accidents, or could there be a shark again? His theory almost is, what if that shark that I killed had like a buddy shark who they talked to, and now he's coming for revenge? Like the marine biologist character who he's telling that to is like, have you been drinking? Well, no, but in so many polite ways, that's pretty much what she's saying. That's ridiculous. Sharks don't have personal vendettas, but this is a horror movie, so we know better than that. Actually, we don't. We never really know why this shark. Maybe it's just another bloodthirsty shark who had no idea about the first. Never mind. Who cares? A shark is back, and it's terrorizing people. So Brody is quite paranoid about it. He's trying to warn the people, but they don't believe him. You're stressed out, man. Have you been drinking? And he drinks a lot in this movie, so I think he does actually legitimately have a drinking problem. But that's a story for another day. But no one believes him, and that's kind of the suspense of the story. So he's kind of obsessing over the fact that he knows in his gut that this is happening. And he wants to warn everybody, and no one will believe him. So that's kind of the suspense of the movie. But at the same time, what it kind of turns into, not so much Chief Brody's story, which he's not in it. Well, he is and he isn't. He maybe occupies only half of the story. The other half of the story is with these teenager characters who are out, sailing, and they encounter the dreaded shark, and they're all in trouble, and one by one the shark picks them off. So that's the kind of like the last half of the movie, and where all the tension is. So I mean, essentially what this movie turns into is a dead teenager movie, which Texas Chainsaw, whatever, almost like that, but with a fucking shark. So they're all getting picked off. These young, gorgeous kids getting picked off by sharks, screaming at the top of their lungs as required. So it's a little cheap, but I mean, it works okay for what it is. I mean, that's kind of the important thing. So, that kind of intermingles with the Chief Brody story because his sons are out there, his two sons, so he has to come and get them, and so that's his goal. So, it's almost sort of like like Halloween, you know, like where he's like the Loomis character, and no one believes him, and he has to go on his quest, and then at the end everything comes together. So kind of like that, sort of, I guess. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad for what it is. I mean, it's Jaws 2. It is not Jaws 1. There's nothing that, you know, even comes close. But for what it is, I think it's serviceable. Jaws 3, I didn't like. Jaws 4, infamously bad. But this one, I think, you know, it at least gets an E for effort. I think it's watchable. I like seeing Roy Scheider in it again, even though, yeah, I have heard that there were, you know, conflicts on the production where he didn't even want to be in the movie, which, you know, fair enough, I wouldn't either. And we are kind of missing elements that made the movie as good as it, or that made the first movie as good as it was. Like, you know, we really could have used a Robert Shaw type of character at least, even if they didn't, you know, actually bring him back. You know, he's not coming back from the dead. But have you seen those pictures of that comic of Quint back from the grave? He survived the shark. That'd be kind of cool to see. Maybe they should have got him. Was Robert Shaw still alive? I don't know. I don't think he was in 1978, but that's a story for another time. But anyway, you know, it was missing basically. What I'm trying to say, it's missing something, just a little bit extra. That made the first movie so good. So I mean, for what it is, it's a dead teenager movie, and it's not bad. I mean, the ending is pretty good. You know, I'll give away the ending, so if you care, spoiler alert. They kind of set up at the beginning that there's, you know, this electrical grid, this power grid. And he holds it up, and he had remembered from earlier sharks are attracted to sound, so he's taking the paddle and he's going, come on, come on. Then it jumps up, bites it, zzz, shark electrocutes and dies. So that's kind of a cool thing. You know, it's not Smile, you son of a bitch, but it's still cool. So, yeah, Jaws 2, not bad, but doesn't hold a candle to the original. Not that you would expect it to. Hopefully, going into this movie, you know well enough that it's not going to be as good. But I think it's decent. So it's a decent horror dead teenager movie with a little bit of familiarity from the first Jaws in the Brody character. So ultimately, I would say give it a shot if you haven't. If you'd rather leave well enough alone, stick with the original. Never fails. So that's my review of Jaws 2. Thanks for watching. Comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff, and stay tuned for more reviews.